Hello YouTube, Damo_23 here, and welcome back to another episode on the YouTube channel. In today's video, it's my Game Week 9 review, Game Week 10 preview, and we are going to discuss how 83 points in a very good Game Week rank equaled into a red arrow. We're also going to talk about is Tsimikas essential, and if you're on a wild card, can you go without Haaland? But before else, links down below. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel. We've passed 400 subs. I'd like to say thank you because the FPL videos are doing very well at the moment. And all my Football Manager content's coming out as well if you wish to check that out. That, of course, is on this YouTube channel in the playlist section. I'm currently doing my beta save with Spurs and having some fun with Son and Maddison. Same as what I'm doing in FPL. With that as well, do subscribe, as mentioned, and give the video a like to help promote the content. We're past the 400 sub mark. I'm hoping to get to 500 by the end of the season. It would be nice. I'm not overly fussed about some sort of goals or anything because I'm not a content creator, but it would be nice to say that I'm halfway to a K. It would be nice indeed. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. I got 83 points and it was muchly over the average. However, my safety rank, being in the top 50K, was 85. And to be fair, it wasn't the biggest red arrow. If you have a look at the Excel spreadsheet, we all love the Excel spreadsheet by the sounds of it from the comments, and let me know if you really do like the old school look. I think anything inside the top 2 mil was a very good game week rank, and usually if you're inside the top 2 mil, you're having a very good season for game week ranks. Unfortunately, that was a red arrow of 7K, which, to be fair, is kind of like holding. I'm not overly fussed. The more important thing for me was the 102.4 in the team value. Our team value has gone up significantly, which tells me the team's in a really good spot. We have some really good picks, but there is a few players that are hurting us. Punt of the week was Haaland as captain. Was thinking about triple captaining if you listened to last episode and the podcast. The story behind it was, in the end, I had to work on Saturday and I'd be up at 6:30 in the morning. We've had a 12:30, 1 o'clock kickoff. I couldn't watch the game and I wouldn't be able to sleep if my triple captain was playing. There is a thing called real life that impacts fantasy. That was one of my decisions. I didn't do it. Other one was I ummed and ahed, and I kept thinking maybe Salah's a better captain. Am I going to triple captain Salah then? No. So in the end, I decided to go with Haaland but not triple captain. I flipped a coin for it 5 minutes before the deadline. I was with a bunch of friends watching the basketball here in Adelaide, and the coin landed on tails, which one of my friends says, tails is no triple captain, heads is triple captain. So in the end, the coin led me right. It was a 50-50 for me. If you did triple captain on the back of what I said, do apologise, but you still got a decent triple captain. Paul triple captain had a very good game week, who I discussed it in the podcast with. I think if I wasn't triple captaining Haaland, I should have went Salah as a differential captain. It would have worked out with a nice green arrow for ourselves as well. But yeah, no Watkins starting the hurt, but Darwin Núñez, as we go back to here, did return. He's returned in his last 2 games. Here is Mr. Darwin. As you can see here, 5 and 4, and that was off the bench. And I expect him to start the next few game weeks as well. So, Forest, Luton, Brentford, all very good game weeks for Liverpool in an attacking sense. And I would imagine that he's going to start the next 3 before the international break, where he'll get rested against City, and then probably start against Fulham, Sheffield, Palace, and then we'll look to sell. But outside of that, the rest of the points was pretty good. Trippier is the reason he played the premium. Turner, I have no issues with. He was within 10 minutes of a 9-pointer. Udogie, obviously, Ange did us no solid there. Whipped him off in the 55th minute. He might be one that we're looking at selling, and I'll discuss that when we look at Game Week 10. Matty Cash, I have no issues with. Obviously, his value's fine. He's owned by 33% of the game. Was a difficult fixture for him. Look at the next few. Luton, Forest, and Fulham. Very, 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 very good. Maddison with a 9-pointer. Salah with a 16. Gordon with an 8. And Son with a 4. Diaby's maybe the other one we need to discuss in today's video as we look future game weeks. Has now gone in his last 5 of a 5-3-8-2-2. And the last 2-2 have not been great. I will say a decent XA. Watkins missed a big chance. And on a different day, he does return. And he has Luton this game week, but we'll discuss that. Haaland as captain did get a return. Even in bad form, Haaland still is a robot. Areola on the bench, Archer, Gueye, and Lamptey make up the team. So a very good team when you look at it. If you look at the transfers, I have 0.2 in the bank. And my team is picked as followed on screen. For those only listening, not watching, that is Areola against Everton, Wolves against Trippier, Trippier against Wolves, Udogie against Palace, Luton against Cash, or Cash against Luton, Maddison and Son against Palace, Diaby against Luton, Gordon against Wolves, Salah against Forest. That is a pretty stacked midfield 5 for this game week. Haaland against United, Darwin against Forest, and obviously Salah has the armband, even though I think Forest are a very good side, and there is potential to maybe captain Son against Palace. after the last couple of game weeks where, they lost 4-0. But they've got generally a pretty good defence to have Palace and so have Forest, and I don't know, maybe we go still Salah. Anyway, let's go into the AI recommended transfers because I'm actually at a little bit of loss of what to do. I disagree with a couple of these, but it's got one of the players that I'm really, really looking at making the move for, and that's Tsimikas. They reckon we should sell Guehi before this. I disagree with this completely. If you look at Guehi, and the reason we brought him in was to bench him for Newcastle and to bench him for Spurs, because after that he goes Burnley, Everton, Luton, Bournemouth, drop him for West Ham in 14, and then the fixtures get hard again and you can look to sell. He's just a fantastic player at 2.8%, that when he does get a clean sheet, he generally gets you a good rank gain, and is not bad for bonus, as we've seen in the last week before where he got 9 points in a 0-0 draw. I just think he's perfect to hold, so I would not be recommending that one if I was the AI. And they also reckon Darwin and Alvarez, considering Alvarez's poor fixtures and what Darwin's fixtures are, and you expect Darwin to start now the next 3, I definitely would recommend against that one as well. So I will not be doing that. And the other alternative they want me to do is just Guehi to Tsimikas and roll, which is kind of where I'm thinking, but in a different spot. If we go to the actual team, it's rated at 89%, 94 team rating, but I want to discuss Tsimikas and how essential he is. If we look at Kosta Tsimikas, no, I'm just going to go defender in Liverpool. There we go. That is very odd. Should have had this prepared. But Tsimikas, why has he not come up? If you have a look at Tsimikas here and you bring him up on screen, expected points 5.6, 5.2, 5.5. With Robertson out injured, he's nailed. He's going to be playing 60-plus minutes. I'm not going to make this transfer to the Europa League. In case he plays 9 in the Europa League, we might be playing Gomez at left back. But what I'm expecting to happen is Tsimikas is going to play every league game, and in the Europa League, we're going to play Chambers or Gomez out at left back. Being a Liverpool fan, I can probably comment on this very well. Up to 4.5 million. My question is, how do you get him into the team? There's 2 ways. There's either we sell one of our our defenders that with the money in the bank we can afford him, which is any one of our defenders apart from Lamptey. And the other option here is we make 2 moves and we sell a midfielder down, and then we get him in for Lamptey, and allows me to keep Udogie, even though I wouldn't play him over Tsimikas against Palace, Chelsea or Wolves. However, if I sell a midfielder here to another midfielder, I'll probably play Udogie because I think that Palace fix is actually really good. I'm going to show you the ladder. I'm not a fan of selling Diallo before Luton, Forest and Fulham, but I think he's the guy. I could sell maybe Maddison or Son before Crystal Palace. But yet again, I think they're going to score. And how do you drop 2 guys? I mentioned it on the podcast that I think Maddison and Son are going to go really close. If not, I think Son will definitely go over 200 points this year. And if that's the case, you shouldn't drop any asset that's going over 200 points all season because it's just constant returns. Which means it would be Diaby down. And it doesn't even have to go down to a major one. It could be to Matoma. Right, could be to Matoma, but that actually leave us 0.1 out. And depending on price rises and falls, Matoma could go down in price this week, or you could afford it. It also could be to someone like a Dinger with good fixtures, who I think is going to start the next few, and that would definitely give me enough money. But the pick for me would actually be Cole Palmer, and you might be thinking, Damien, why Cole Palmer? It's mainly because of the fixtures in the future. You don't have to play him every week if you get Tsimikas in, right? And if you go to Cole Palmer, right, and you look at the future fixtures for Cole Palmer. And I did this with Botman, and then Botman got injured, but we got a couple of game weeks out of Botman and his price rises. So after game week 16, even in game week 14, Brighton United aren't great attacking defensively. You got Everton, Sheffield, Wolves, Palace, Luton, Fulham, and then you got Wolves, Palace after Liverpool. You could get Cole Palmer in, and he's usable up to game week 24. And at his price, he's cheap, he's nailed, he's taking penalties for Chelsea. And you expect Chelsea to get better, you would imagine, under Poch. And lucky last with that too, he's cheap enough that you can bench him in these hard fixtures. So if I'm doing that, I'm taking out a guy that's about to play Luton, which I would not recommend, to Palmer, and then all of a sudden it's Lamptey up to Tsimikas. If I go to Liverpool defenders again, right? And defenders, and Tsimikas. Right, all of a sudden I've got 1.3 mil in the bank where I could go from Darwin to Watkins if needs be, and Tsimikas gets to play, and I'd probably drop Palmer even though he's playing Bournemouth. Or Brentford, sorry, and probably ride the Udogie clean sheet 1 more week. And that gives me a way where I've got a really good back 4 that's going to get good points, and I've got a really good team that, is on paper, has got a midfield 4 that's playing Forest, Palace, Wolves. Man United, Haaland will be fine, and Darwin as well. I will be captaining Salah this week over Haaland at the moment. And that gives me a good way to do it. I just feel like it's dirty to drop Diaby, who had a decent game and didn't return before this game week. So if I was to reload the team without making the changes here as well, I'm thinking the other move is, and the move I am leaning towards, is just a straight swap for Udogie out to Tsimikas. Leaves me 0.5 in the bank, where if I want to move Lamptey up to a 0.5 defender, or maybe another defender that is playing, is not too bad, because the defender I want long-term is Levi Colwill, still adding up 4.6, but you would imagine over time I'm going to find a 0.1 mil, and it's also going to be Diaby down in 3 weeks' time. After Fulham, I'm selling Diaby to Spurs, Bournemouth, Man City, Arsenal. After in game week 12, I'm selling Diaby to a cheaper one, and it's going to be Palmer. So as you can see here, getting Tsimikas in for the next 3 game weeks is huge. Puts you in a really good spot. And then if you went to game week 11, yet again, it's not too bad. And there's a way where I'm potentially dropping Trippier for the Burnley fixture, where I expect Palace to keep a clean sheet. And I've got 3 really good fixtures here: Forest, Burnley, Luton, Brentford. And then I've got Luton, Chelsea, who have been Forest and Arsenal, which is not the greatest there. And maybe we drop Gordon and play Trippier because he's a better asset, is maybe what you do. And then you got Bournemouth and Luton, which isn't too bad. And then in game week 12, in that last game week where I've got, and I had a free transfer last week, and this is without me thinking about it too much, I can then go and in this game week here, I've got a selection headache because I've got Fulham, Everton, Brentford for Tsimikas, Bournemouth, and I'll probably drop Tsimikas and play the 2 Bournemouth fixtures for Trippier and Gordon, and yet again a really good team. And then in game week 13, as you can see here, is the week where Diaby goes to either Matoma, who still might have decent fixtures, Forest, Chelsea, Brentford. I think it's Cole Palmer, personally, for Newcastle, Brentford, Man United, but you drop him this week, and that gives you money in the bank to do multiple things. That gives you money in the bank to go Lamptey up to a better defender, like a Gabriel, if their fixtures are still good, Brentford, Wolves, Luton. Gives you money to go to maybe a Zinchenko. It gives you money to go multiple areas. It also gives you money to, maybe get to Saka from one of these other options as well. And it gives you money to go to Watkins if I want to take out Darwin. Watkins at the moment's 8.3, Darwin 7.4. We have 2.2 in the bank. I still think my move going forward would be Gabriel. It does mean that in the moment, I'm looking like we're not selling a player to get the Saka, but there is a potential in game week 11 or 12 if Son gets a knock, or, he doesn't score in a couple of games, where it's just an easy downward swap to Saka, who I think is a really good hold long term. And that puts you in a very good situation. It also could be that we might be looking at Levi Colwill here as well, but this could also be the time where in the week after he leaves with 1.4 in the bank, that before he goes West Ham, Bournemouth, we get Levi Colwill in the week after, for instance. And those are your options all the way up to game week 14 without really thinking about it too much. Levi Colwill comes in and you just play the best fixture swing between Gabriel, Tsimikas, Cash and Trippier. And you're obviously going to get good fixtures from Colwill moving forward before he might go up in price. After a couple of those game weeks. And you get Tsimikas against Fulham, Sheffield Palace still. You get Gabriel against Wolves, Luton before he plays Villa. And obviously in that game week, that's where Colwill plays Everton. You got Bournemouth, then Man City and Arsenal for Cash. But this is also a time where you could maybe get Estupiñán back, considering that he's coming back from injury then. And you would get in that, you get Brentford and then Burnley in the next 2 after that, where he will be aggressive and attacking. It's not a bad spot, and the team's in a really good spot. My biggest concern, if I just reload back in, is how do I get Saka in? Because I really want him. And I'm really toying with the idea that we don't. Or if Darwin starts getting dropped, I honestly could see a world where we just do Darwin down to a 5 million playing striker in like Foster, who's been playing okay for Burnley, and is nailed. And you could do Darwin down to this, for instance, right? And that would allow me to go up from one of these guys as well, with all the changes that we would make. It would allow me to do Udogie to Tsimikas, for instance. 2.9 in the bait. Let's go Lamptey to eventually it's going to be Gabriel, for instance, right? That gives you still 2.1 mil in the bank. I could try and get Diaby up to Saka in the future with making those transfers. And that will give me 0.3 in the bank if everything stays as it is. You know, that would allow me to have Gabriel, Guehi, Cash, Trippier, Tsimikas by like game week 16 still, which is not a bad spot and allows me to sell, you know, Guehi down to Cowell or Cash down to Cowell or Cash to your Stupian. And that also allows me to have Salah, Son, Saka, Maddison, Gordon, Haaland, Foster. And even by this stage, it could be Gordon to Cole Palmer to even free up more funds. And if that's my planned team in 16 game weeks making all the transfers that I could potentially make, that team in game week 16 onwards, 15 onwards even by this stage, is very good. But from game week 16 onwards, it is superb. It is a really good fixture run for Chelsea. It's only one Man City asset with the blank coming up. There's no Brentford asset, and it's easy to get both of those sort of assets in. You know, we can drop one of these midfielders down to fund Alvarez if I wanted to, you know, after the blank. It's easy enough for me to even go from Maddison or Son to a Foden or a Grealish or a Doku if one becomes nailed. So I think this team has a lot of flexibility. It's in a really good spot. And my planned transfer is to do the good old Udoji to Tsimikas and give myself 0.5 in the bank to do other moves and seek to keep 2 transfers next game week. And then from there to see what goes on with what I want to do. And I really think we're in a really good spot. And hopefully Darwin continues to score points. And hopefully we get back inside the top 50k next game week. Lucky last there, if I go back to like the points or pick team there as well, you would have noticed that in my head-to-head leagues, I have dropped out of first in a couple. All 3 paid head-to-head leagues I did lose in, which is not good. And a couple of my other head-to-head and my classic leagues, I have actually dropped or held. I'm still leading in one, but third in another, second in another. And in the Ultras tab, of all the other Ultras managers here, I'm still sitting in third, but starting to drop off the top few a little bit there as well. But it's been a good time of it. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this little episode here. Thank you yet again for watching. Give it a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And until next time, which is next game week for game week 10, looking at game week 11, make your best decision. Good luck if you captain anyone other than Salah. And hopefully we're all on a green arrow. And I'll see you guys again. Thank you and goodbye.